Today, I have the absolute pleasure of chatting with well-celebrated elite performance coach, trauma specialist, highly sought-after speaker, and newly published author, Annalie Howling. How are you today?
Ooh, I'm great. I love that intro.
Well, I was going to come up with loads of other stuff, but I don't know that much yet. But I have got the book right here, and I can see you've got multiple copies in the background for those watching on YouTube. What an incredible... I agree, actually, with what Vex has written on the front. A masterpiece in self-liberation.
Oh, thank
Couldn't
you.
have put it... I mean, that is what it is. I mean, I think it's a very special book. Every now and again, a book comes along. And I'm kind of one of those people that likes to read multiple books at once, because I do get a bit like, oh, okay, I'm a bit over this guy. He's a bit shouty and it's got something different and stuff. And I listen to books. But you're one I've listened to all week. I was just saying to you, I've been listening to it in the car, listening to it on dog walks, listening to it before bed. You've got a great voice for audio, by the way.
Thank you.
Why you haven't got a podcast or TV show, I don't know. But
well, watch this space. Watch this space
well,
on that.
You heard it here first. You heard it here first. But yeah, then to get to talk to you, as I said, is a real privilege. And I've recommended it to clients. They're loving it. So great work. How proud of yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 are you?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. So at the moment, I'm a little bit, I don't want to say numb, but it's been I've been sprinting a marathon and I haven't caught up with myself, if that makes sense. So I love the book. I'm really, really proud of it. As in, a friend of mine who's an author, she said, you can see that you really believe in it. And that's true. I believe in this book so much. So in that regard, I'm really proud of what I've written. But the kind of, you've said to me being a published author, it honestly just hasn't clicked in yet. I need a bit of water between me and it. I think I need a bit of space. I need to just kind of decompress. It has not clicked that's what's happened yet.
Yeah, I mean, that is, for people in our industry, that is a very special moment. It's a vulnerability that I haven't done it yet. I'm in the process of writing a book, but it's a vulnerability that I don't know can be easily articulated, especially the way that you've done it. I agree with your friend, it is so honest, it's so raw, it's so real life, because I think in our industry, again, there's a lot of scope for people mimicking each other, and then we get this weird self-development thing that just feels a bit like being gaslit. It's just a bit strange, but yours book doesn't go anywhere near that. It's real, it's rugged, it embraces failure, which is a massive part of life. Without failures, I don't see how you really learn.
I actually had a bit of I would say ding dong. Let's just say, because the book's called Unapologetic. I was very unapologetic, shall we say, with my publishers, because they really wanted a sort of how-to, 10 steps for this or the 10 laws of whatever. And I was like, that's just not how shame works. And I basically refused to do that. I was like, I'm going to write this book. And it was way more unhinged, the first manuscript. So I wrote,
you might go to jail if this comes out.
100%. And I was here for it. I wrote 126,000 words. The book is about 45, 50, I think. That's how much got edited down, right? And I was like, I am going there. This was the lawyers were all over my book. That was the thing that took the longest. There was the lawyers going, can we change this?
Let's chat.
We really can't be doing this. And I'm like, but the point being, I refuse to ever share, I don't do any brands at the moment, because if I ever do, I really do use it. I refuse to put anything towards an audience or a person who I know to be in pain that might not work. And like you saying, this sort of weird quasi space we're in now, the algorithm is an absolute load of shit. We know that it's gone mad, fine, but you never own the algorithm. And what is happening, I love that you mentioned it, everyone in kind of our space, a lot of people have started to try and emulate one another. Everyone's like, well, this isn't working, so now I'll do this. Someone that always did beautiful videos is now doing bold carousels. Someone that did that before is now suddenly they're speaking to camera and doing it in somebody else's style. And you're like, I've seen that hat before. It's a bit weird. People are kind of copying one another, and it's becoming this really odd, we're meant to be doing everything other than being AI. And yet this weird stuff is forcing people to become the same. And so my whole shtick, if you will, is I just refuse to do that. I wasn't going to do shame in 10 steps because that's a lie. And I'm not going to lie to my audience. And people that are in pain And in this economy and everything else, and if you're spending 20 quid on the beautiful hardback, or you're downloading it on audio, or whatever you're investing in this book, it had to make a difference. And it had to make a difference by being real. And the thing with shame is, if you try and make it anything lighter, if I tried to tie it in a bow, if I tried to put it in a pretty 10-step, click your fingers, turn around 3 times, say 5 words, and you're free of it, like, that's just bullshit. And I refused to do it. So I love what you've said about this book, because that's the thing probably I'm the most proud of, is there was a few fights throughout me even doing this to get something out into the world. And one of the editors I work with, she was like, I think you've created your own genre here, because you're reading it, like some of it's like a bit poetry, like the things about grief. I don't know if you've read Will and Hope, which was a poem about the end of my marriage. And then there's obviously very erotic writing in there about the pussy course and the pleasure section. Then there's very dark, difficult client case studies and my own childhood of deep violence. So, but it's no place that shame can hide. And that's the point. Shame isn't a straight line. Healing isn't, everyone knows it's not a straight line, but then we still try and insist on doing straight line healing steps. And I'm like, no. So thank you for saying that.
No, you know what? You've unknowingly really, that was lovely to hear, because I have had that problem with the book that I wrote. Because here's the thing, in my opinion, life is messy, it's
Mm.
unpredictable. There are very serious things that are quite funny. There are very
Yeah.
funny things that are quite serious. Life is an absolute baffling experience. And to try and, like you say, fit it into this linear ABC 1, 2, 3, I think is an insult to humanity in a sense, because
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense, because you're already struggling, you're already having these emotional difficulties, and now you feel like you're even more of a failure because you can't do step 3.
That is exactly I get so annoyed
Yeah.
with like the morning routine. That pisses me off
That dude on TikTok with
so.
the bowl. What the
Oh
hell?
my God. I mean, but even like I'm a single mom. Yeah. Oh, what a slummy cow I am, because I didn't like home make her organic granola today, and like meet all of her macros as well as mine, and do like, I
Yeah.
didn't journal
Just
or
trying to
make a
hit my own
ceremony.
at this
Right.
point.
At this moment, I'm doing my best, like, and like, I haven't done a ceremonial matcha and spent time to journal. And it's like, fuck off. And it
Yeah.
pisses me off because it's targeting really vulnerable people. And genuinely, first thing in the morning, God love you if you are anxious and you think, okay, I'll do these things because this person that I trust is saying to me that they do them. And if I follow that too, I might feel a bit better.
Yeah.
And it's just setting you up for shame, because you aren't going to be able to do this perfectly. And then before your day's even begun, you feel like a failure. And then again, there are people in our space, fake guru, I'm going to call it what it is. And they are profiteering from people's pain. And I cannot be with that. That is something I cannot be with, because I see people, this is my office, I see people in so much pain. And again, brave, beautiful souls who are coming here to, have all of this like, pouring it out there with a kind of veritable stranger to do the work, to try and make changes, to try and improve their lives. And you've got these people like skipping around, like, the Pied Piper going, oh, buy my course and spend $99 and I'll cure your anxiety forever. And it's worked for 5,000 people. And then when it doesn't work for you, you're like, oh, well, I can't even do that. I can't even get that right.
Well, I think actually what ends up happening sometimes is shame creeps in because you did the course and it didn't work, but you don't tell anybody because you don't
Yeah.
want to be the one that failed.
Yeah. I'm the outlier. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just before we move on to sort of the bulk of things, because I've got a few questions. They're a bit random, but I find that
Love.
random questions bring out really random conversations, which are always much more exciting than the so when was you born? It's like, what does that matter? But so I've seen on your stories, I mean, is there more than one of you? Is there two Annalies, right? Because I can't work out how you are in so many different places all at once. Like, I can go to bed and you're in New York, and I wake up in the morning and you're in London. I'm like, come on now."
I mean, that's being a single mum, babe. Like,
Yeah,
that's because you've managed to get up, do the school run, do the big shop, run your
yeah.
business, do something else, and
Done all your
you
morning
wake up
rituals.
and it's 10 a.m. and you're like, yeah, I did well there. Like, yeah, it's just like, yeah, I think we learn to put ourselves into many different things. I'm very happy to report that right now, a bit like what I said earlier, it hasn't quite caught up with me what I've done for the last few months, because that was insane. And the warning light was on my dashboard the whole time. But I had a very beautiful finish line a couple of weeks ago. Took my girl away with some friends, just come back from Caparica, which is like just south of Lisbon, went to a music festival, had like just a great time with great friends. And I've got like a month of kind of a bit more focus of, honestly, like, let's call it self-care and just integrating and being a bit quiet. And we can call it selfish as well, but there's some good boundaries in place here. I'm doing things that I need to do. I'm doing the really unsexy stuff. I'm going through the drawers of shit that is just accumulated from like chuck a case down, pick a case up, chuck a case
Yep.
down, pick a case up. So I'm going to kind of like reorganize elements of my life this month and reset.
Oh, that's good. That's really good, because that running with the light on is it's a temporary thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be. But I mean, it wasn't. You would have probably read, I don't know if you got to that bit big about burnout, but I had a massive burnout when I was 29, and I ignored the dash, and then I put a sticker over it, and then I put a book on it, and then I did everything to not even look at it. And that was very catastrophic for me, physically, emotionally, everything. So I knew it was on. I knew it was happening. Thankfully, I knew now to like strip as much else out as I could. I was literally saying to friends, I know this is insane, but I'll be available in June. Like, I just can't right now. And so I had no boundaries in that way now to ask for what I need and help. And I knew to have this time, we're speaking in early June, and I knew to have this time now to basically do kind of probably still someone's quite efficient day, but just bring it down a notch or two for me, just to allow things to reintegrate so I don't fall off a cliff.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you've got more important work to do. I'm positive. And then you've got your big TV show. You're like, oh, shut up, Johnny.
Unhinged TV. We're going to
Yeah.
start a new channel. We're going to go back to like the days you were like when it was sort of like, what was that show on Channel 4 in the evening when they were absolutely mad and did like used to come in on a Friday night? Is it The Word?
Yeah, The Word, man.
Yeah, let's
I
do
remember
that. Like really mad.
Yeah, that was wild. That would not work today. There'd be a lot of offended people if that
There'd be a lot
happened.
of problems. There'd be a lot of issues. Yeah,
there
or
would.
Shooting Stars, something absolutely
Yeah,
bonkers like that.
yeah. That wow, I haven't thought about The Word in a long time. Uh, so let's get into it. I mean, I always ask this as a bit of a random question because I think it's always interesting that I've never had as anywhere near a similar answer or a similar trajectory of answer. But how did you become Annalie Howling?
Ooh, I love that question. I'm going to say that I feel like I always had quite a strong sense of self, as in, like, I always sort of, I talk about it now, like, I had the compass, I just never had the map. So I knew when things felt wrong. Like my parents, when they would be, and my dad was violent and my mum would collude with him and say it was my fault. Like, I knew inherently that was wrong, but I didn't have steps or like, oh, go and live with this family. Like, I used to read Roald Dahl's Matilda and genuinely be like, where is my Miss Honey? Truly. I would like just wish, I used to think that my real parents would have to turn up and get me because this couldn't be it. Like, truly, I had that really strong sense. So I feel like I've always known who I am, but probably from like society, and I can pick like certain events and things that, I tried to follow certain paths that I was told that I should. I think I was told a lot of the time not to be myself. I talk quite a lot about like be yourself, but not like that. Oh, we love that about you, but not like, oh right, okay, and then you're worried about being too much and other things. So yeah, I think I've always had this, like I say, internal compass, this sense of self, but for a long time was kind of told or made to feel that wasn't acceptable. And I really tried to follow that route until it became a point where it's like, actually, this is literally making me ill and other things, and I have to be myself.
One of the things that I found really incredible was when I was listening to your book. I went through domestic violence, and my father tortured me and my family as a child. And one of the things that I realized a bit later in life is that you can't really heal the event as such. It's more the emotional imprint that it had when it happened, and the emotional imprints are so they come through. They sort of reverb through the book of all of the emotions that you went through and the meanings that you gave them at the time, based off of being, I don't know, 6, 8, 10, 12, 20, 30, whatever, and how you have sort of taken ownership of giving those emotions different meanings so that they have a different impact, so that they become a different map to your life. And you're saying that you had the compass, which I assume was your values and probably some beliefs that you probably do or do not have anymore. I don't know. But what really came across to me was that emotions, the emotion of shame, the emotions that fed shame, the emotions that tried to reject shame, but you wasn't able to be with that.
Mm.
All of that stuff came through in a book and really gave a sense of who you are as a person.
Thank you. And then, like, if I may, like with you and your experiences, did that really resonate? Like the
Yeah,
feelings
very
of,
much, very much. Yeah, just the very much the like the childlike but sort of almost adult like thinking at the same time of it's like we were saying at the beginning, like life's a contradiction. Like you can
mm,
have these two emotions that don't make sense together, but they are together. And this is the thing. This is what shame can do, I suppose, is it can gaslight you into pretending that you don't feel the way you do, which completely bypasses what you want
yeah,
from life, you
absolutely.
know?
I really feel like so many of us are walking around like that as well. And no one's Machiavelli or doing it harmfully. Like but we are ashamed of our shame. That's the thing. We're ashamed of our shame. And the last thing I want you to do is see my shame. So I'm going to mask it and try and be someone I think you want me to be, or that society's told me to be, or someone told me certainly not to be a certain way. And so, yeah, it's when I think about it, like how many people are just, we're all trying to connect and have relationships and all this sort of stuff. And if we're not being ourselves, a bit like this whole fake guru stuff, like how can I ever get better? How can I ever heal? How can I ever have a meaningful relationship or good conversations or make real friends or be helped, help someone else? Like all of it to me is so interlinked, which is why I wanted to get hold of shame because, and I love what you said about that as well, because when we're kids and we're younger, we only have like a 6 or 7 year old brain and life experience to apply to, let's be honest, a really fucked up, very grown up, insane situation.
Yeah.
And because we don't, and then we're going to trauma responses, which can also take off some of our capacities at the time as well. So we can be losing some function. And again, we end up with this because it's almost like a PC story, like we don't have it all. Shame will fill in the gaps for you. And it's always shame and it's always negative and it's always you. Why didn't you do more? Why did you behave like that? How could you have been so stupid? How could you have been so weak? And then we end up with this limiting belief that we take forward. So I'm obviously incredibly sorry that happened to you and your family. And I'm really glad that this is kind of also speaking to that experience for you. And I really hope other people.
For me, it was the illogicalness of being a kid. So I would see things, and it sounds like you did too. And I was a kid, I was unable to do anything, but yet I kept the feeling of feeling like I should have done, feeling like I failed because I didn't step in when I was 8.
Yeah.
It's like it's so ludicrous. I can see how illogical it is. And even though I've worked through it with therapy and different things, like this, tired, hungry, all those things, it's where it's waiting in the darkness, and it says, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna come back and we're gonna have another go at that thing again."
Mhm.
And I just heard all of that, and that's what I thought was brilliant about it, because there is no fake guru in that book. It is real. There are things in there that I'm sure you don't want people to know, but you tell them because it's what happened and it's what made the difference. And unfortunately, all of these good, bad, ugly, whatever, they all play into part of a solution, and the solution isn't permanent. It
No.
fluctuates. There are
Yep.
days where you're like, F my life. I just what am I doing? But there are other days where it's working, and that is how it is to be human. And that's what I love about the book. You come across in that book just brilliantly, and I appreciate it. So,
Thank you. I really appreciate you saying that.
so any more to add to how did you become Annalie Howling?
I think the thing that just popped into my head, and I just go with stuff that comes in, is I'm very lucky. Like I'm a very lucky person. I do believe we make our own luck, by the way. So I'm a very optimistic. I'm one of those annoying people that in the morning I'm like, ta-da! Like, today's a great day. So yeah, I am annoyingly optimistic. I'm very spiritual. Like so, my spirituality, I think, plays a huge role. And I do remember again a pivotal moment was I left one company. I can remember it so clearly because it was so ridiculous what happened. Usual thing, I was working, handed in my notice, gardening leave happens, going to a competitor business, sort of knew that. Didn't do anything untoward, just getting a promotion. Given the company I was at, plenty of chances to develop my career. They said all the right things and didn't do it. You're like, okay, well, I gave you a few chances. One of the bosses was even like, I get it, it's on me. You came to me a couple of times, didn't give you the right opportunities, like good luck, basically. But my actual boss at the time took it so personally that I was leaving. Obviously, a lot to do with him. Um, but I remember being on gardening leave and I was in Sri Lanka in a hammock in like this beautiful, idyllic, super chill. And I was reading a book at the time called Ask and It Is Given, which is mad. Like it's Esther and Jerry Hicks that are channeling something called Abraham and they're getting messages. But it was sort of my first foray into spirituality and kind of really manifestation, shall we say. Like I hadn't really understood what that was, or let's call it language of the universe, whatever you want. I'd never really gone into there. And that was the first introduction that I had. I'm in this really beautiful place and I'm being introduced to this kind of new worlds. They watch what you say and think about your language and those. And I was like, oh, this is really exciting. And I remember being on the phone in a hammock in Sri Lanka to my what was then boss, who was in Paddington Station, like screaming down the phone at me. And I remember being like, this is really insane. And there must be another way here as well. So I do remember that being like quite a pivotal moment as well, that I never wanted to kind of go back into that. And that was a real experience of like sort of projection as well from someone else. And I remember that particularly again because that really was my start into what I would call kind of a spiritual journey in the art of non-attachment, which I've got a lot, not just from the spiritual world. That's come a lot from doing coaching work. That's come a lot from doing therapy work on myself and with others, because you do, you know, if you go in with an idea or an attachment to something, you will be proved wrong most of the time. Like you can't be going
Almost
in with too
always.
much, right? You can't be going in with opinion
Yeah.
or control. There's just so many things that you simply cannot control. So I would say that was also a very standout moment for me, and a bit of like gentle reclamation of my own, I think, autonomy again, and being like, nah, I'm not having another scary male figure like my father kind of thing shouting at me, telling me I'm wrong when I know I'm not. I'm a really honest person. Like I'm so loyal. I'm so honest. I can't be with like injustice very well. You know, I'm one of those people that'll call it out, and I won't be around people that act in duplicitous ways. It makes me feel very uneasy. It's just something I find, it makes me feel quite unsafe. So because of that, you know, my relationships are founded around truth and things like that. I don't really have a lot of time for people that prefer to live in another way. Yeah, and I remember that being a real like, what is going on here moment. And I, you know, I think I'll take my own path from here.
I think I can see why I resonate so much with the book. We are ridiculously similar. It's not even funny. There's the stuff that I talk about with truth. For me, even if it doesn't suit me, I will go with the truth because I can trust it.
Yeah,
I can just trust it, and I don't want it to be any other way, because whatever comes from a false narrative or a lie is not going to end well. In fact,
this
I'd
is
say almost always ends badly.
this is the thing with betrayal that I say. It's not what you did or the lie that you told. It's the fact that I can never trust you again. Like that to me is my relationship with truth in all friendships, everything. The thing that you did is one thing, but I can never trust you again. And to me, I'm like, I'm all or nothing on that. So, you know, we can still have a connection maybe, but this is going to be very different in how I show up. And that's just something I know about myself. And, you know, my job is to find dark truths a lot of the time. You know, we talked about a duality of, you know, this is a thing that happened to me, but I still hold shame about it. Or my parents were doing the best that they could at the time with what they had, their trauma, their limited resources, their lack of understanding, whatever. And that wasn't enough for me. And I can hold that duality as well, you know. So for me, when I'm kind of like seeing, yeah, I don't know, this, it makes me very, very uneasy when people lie and when they lie easily and they lie about a lot of things. So yeah, I can own it. I'm a deep truth seeker, and that is something that I stand by.
That's spooky. It is. It's literally. I sound like I'm listening to myself. It's nuts. No, because I'm exactly the same way. I'm watching people. I'm watching everything they do, what they say, what they don't say, where they pause, the nervous giggles, what they do with their hair. You know, all of these things are always coming through, and I'm sure it's a consequence of like hypervigilance as a kid. You
Oh,
know,
completely. Yeah, for both of us. Yeah, we're used to having to be on alert all the time. And so, yeah, part of keeping people that we love safe and other things, you know, it's not, you know, I don't want anything to come into my experience that could then, let's just say, make a terrible business decision. And then that's going to really affect me and my daughter. I'm completely, you know, I'm responsible for our home and all of these things, or, you know, anything that might be unsafe for her if I make a poor choice with a friendship or something like that. So, yeah, it's definitely, I can own being maybe a bit extra in that space, but also
I get called
I
extra
that
so much.
but that is who I am, and it's not going to change. Like some people are
Uh,
kind of, and the thing I love about like some of my best friends, they would, you know, they are the same with that good kind of, as in, I'm probably, like I said, I'm probably more on one end of that, but people would hold me to account on it as well, which I really value in my friendships. If I was suddenly acting kind of out of alignment or out of my integrity there, they'd be like, what the hell do you think you're doing? So yeah.
it's that idea. Like, I remember I was doing a talk once and somebody challenged me on something I said and I listened to it. And then they said, are you not going to argue back? I said, look, I'm not here to be right or wrong. I'm
Yeah.
here to look for the truth. And that truth will look a little bit like what I said, a little bit what you said, a little. I'm not here. I'm not trying to get you to go, oh my gosh, you're so smart, so clever, Johnny. Wow, let's bow down to you. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
I want to know what is true so I can trust the truth and I can move forward in a helpful way. And I like to see that in other people. Don't always, but try
My
to look
favorite
for it.
little saying, and I use this, I apply this to me as well, is that, and this is why I believe I'm optimistic. This is why I think I sleep so well every night. This is why, and it makes me happy, right? If you always tell the truth, you never have to remember anything.
Mm,
So I'm never searching for, oh shit, what did I tell him then? Or where did I say I was? Or what did I say to that person? The reason, even things like, nice truths, like why I couldn't do that or whatever. Like, I hold myself to that account. Like, I don't have to remember anything. There's nothing stored up in my brain of like things that I said to so and so. I've got like kind of spin that plate or manage that person or do this thing. Like, no, this is, I'm not sat in a room full of lies or elephants in the room. That's just not what I'm all about. So yeah,
I absolutely love that. I absolutely
we
love that.
never have to remember a thing.
We don't, and there's a freedom to that. And it's interesting. It's one of the harder things is when you watch somebody lying, they're lying, and you just think it's not worth calling you out on it. I'm just going to sit there
No,
and let you do it. It's just
this,
like, go ahead. And then I'll probably never see you again. So take care.
this is probably quite naughty of me, so I'm going to just change a few little details. But I was at I was at something not so long ago, and there was someone in our space, shall we say, and immediately I was like, whoa, there was just something was not quite right.
Hmm.
And I'm aware that I can come off like, I know I can, maybe I don't mean to, but I know I can come off like sometimes it can seem a bit cold initially. I'm not. I'm very friendly. I'm really open, but I think on first glance, Maleficent, always in black, and like I think it's like I think people look and just go, "Well," And anyway,
Listen, sorry, that's
yeah,
funny.
that I channel that. She is my role model and idol. Yeah, so it's like, and very similar space to ours, shall we say, and I gave a talk and I was talking about all the things that are in the book really openly, really vulnerably. And then this person just absolutely was like, I just don't resonate with anything you've said at all. And then went on to,
Wow.
fine, not your experience, by the way, in our space. And then went on to like basically completely contradict themselves. And then something else. And just like, right, I'm feeling so uncomfortable here. There was just something was not right. And so I'm sat there like doing my like practice of like put yourself in like a big silver egg, like protect your energy, like just
Don't
kind of
stab
be
her with a
careful.
pencil.
And you know what? Since then, because it always does, the universe is like just all I'm getting is like messages kind of like corroborating, not that I've asked for it, but just things have been dropping in, like kind of corroborating what I thought. And I was like, wow, like it shows up quickly now, is what I mean, when people are out of their integrity.
Yeah, and that's it. And unfortunately, and I don't like to be negative, but it's true. There's a lot of that in our industry. I went to an event a little while ago, and I will try to change details now. It's like, Johnny, we're recording. But a couple of years ago, when I first started my podcast, I reached out to a coach that I really admire and I really thought was doing great work. And I said, "Would you like to be on? I really admire you." Blah blah blah. No worries if you can't. And sometimes people are busy and they can't, and that's fine. And I understand. But they sent back a message saying, I don't go on podcasts with people any less than 10K. Call me when you get there. And I went off down a little road of like, who do you think you are, Johnny? You're embarrassing yourself, blah blah blah. And then I spoke to someone. They said, he sounds like a dick, and I was like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that does sound right. Anyway, I went to an event not so long ago, and there was this person there, and I thought, I recognize you, and then it landed, and I was like, oh, it's you. And I was like, okay, don't. don't say anything, Johnny. Just go with it.
Leave it in,
Just
Johnny.
go, yeah, that's like, just, just don't say a word. Anyway, by the end of that evening, they come over to me and they said, you really intrigued me. I'd love to come on your podcast. And I just stood there and it was like time stood still for like an hour or something. And I just went, that would be great. And it's because it's like my thing is about showing people how to be better. You
Yeah,
know,
completely,
just
completely.
be better. Every part of me, the childish part of me, just wanted to go. No, guess what? No, you can't. And all this, but that's
Haha! And
yeah.
here's the receipts.
Got this email loaded up, snapshot it. There you go. I'm not crazy at all. It's like,
I haven't thought about this every day for
no,
2 years. So yeah.
ever. Just very. I'm very cool about it. Chill. But yeah, so those moments do come up and they're very validating, I think, and it's good to
Mm.
recognize them. And they're funny. It's like I said, it's about at the time that was quite devastating for me, but now it's quite amusing, and that's life. That's
Yeah,
probably a good example of it. But
I love
anyway,
it. I love it.
next question is, what's one of the most impactful things that people can learn about shame?
Ooh, I think what's really helpful is that shame is different to guilt. I think sometimes that gets a bit mixed up. So I think for people to know if they're listening or feeling shame versus guilt, that would probably be quite helpful. So guilt is a thing that you did that you feel bad about. So let's just say, like, I could be like, oh my God, Friday, she had wet trainers from yesterday where it rained. My daughter, it was a bit of a rush this morning. The cat did bring a mouse in again. Like, so it's like, it was a bit of a drama this morning. Like, I don't think I was my best self this morning. Need to do a bit better. That's me being a bit guilty. We had a great morning, by the way. But anyway, like, but if I said to you the same sort of situation and I was like, oh, Johnny, like, I didn't have time to clean her trainers and she had to go with them dirty for sport later. And, it was a rush and she was tired and I was, and I am a bad mother.
Mm.
That is shame. So shame is the felt sense. It's very, very hard to put shame into words, which is why I've written the book that I have in the way that I have, because shame is felt. It's that pit of your stomach. It's the, ooh, it's the, when you remember some of the things from your childhood and then you remember the shameful feeling that you have about acting in a certain way or why you didn't act in another, you feel it, right? Probably in the pit of your stomach, maybe your chest. But it's this, and then we get that horrible, like cringy ick. And immediately and very understandably, you want to not feel like that. So then we probably snap into an almost opposing behavior to kind of try and course correct, which is perfectly normal. But yeah, guilt is a did. And if you're coulda, woulda, shoulda-ing, oh, why did I do that? Should have done that differently. Could have done that better. That's often a bit guilt-based anxiety. Guilt's in the anxiety family, but more in the past and a thing you did. Like other anxiety for people to notice is catastrophizing over the future. Like I need to leave. If I leave that time at that hour and I get there then I can get there 15 minutes early. And then that allows if that train cancels. And then if that happens, then right, I'll pack this and this and this because if I'm ill, I'll need to take that. And then I'll have that person's phone number. And then, like more than just say normal, like I need that to get there. Like that is trying to fake control every potential outcome. Like you say, say you knew that person was going to be at that event and you'd have like 5 different responses and I'll meet them there and I'll plan this thing and I'll say this thing, which very rarely happens. So I just want to give that example of like guilt versus shame. Shame is this very different energy. It's so corrosive. It's this insidious substance that is sort of deeply, deeply within us that we work really hard to hide as well. I said we're ashamed of our shame. And then things like the inner critic or imposter syndrome, that is sitting above your shame to kind of keep you perfect and to keep people away from your shame. So if I can be good enough, if I can be perfect enough, if I can work hard enough, if I can be the best mum, girlfriend, friend, speaker, podcast guest on Johnny's podcast, whatever, then people won't get anywhere close to my shame. I've done a great job. The inner critic and the imposter have kept everyone sort of, I've spun the plates perfectly so that, I can rest another day from shame. But that's just not the truth of it. It lives within your system until you find a way to move it out.
Yeah, and it sounds to me like a lot of it's just owning it, isn't it, and speaking it, and not
Absolutely. The
allowing
first step
someone.
is speaking it.
Yeah, and not allowing someone to use it against you. Well, and I think there's a lot of the time I notice that people don't name it because they're not quite sure what it is, and they've got lots of other people's voices and their ego and all of these things all shoved
Totally.
in their ear, which is
Totally. I
devastating.
don't know if you've got to the subject about divorce and breakups, but there's my divorce lawyers in the book.
That made me angry. Oh, that made me angry. That really. I was listening. I was walking the dog on the field. I was listening to that. I think I was actually talking out loud a little bit. I think I said, "No." I was like, "That's
Yeah.
no," because it's like, yeah, just you can't believe it, but you
But
can at the
that
same time. So
it's such a so I'm actually doing an event with them in a couple of weeks with a female barrister with him. He's amazing, my lawyer, but he is not, he is he's a lawyer, but he's not like the others in that, he's a single dad of two young girls and he's amazing. But, he says in it, and you would have read it, some clients encourage you to weaponize shame that was shared in a really intimate environment. And so this person that was there to love, honor, and obey you is now very actively weaponizing something that you may have shame around to betray you.
mm,
And he said that, you would have read it, that, in cases where there's like cultural shame being leveraged and intimate photographs from a marriage are being shared with parents, all of a sudden, it's no longer about a divorce. It's about being ostracized and being completely rejected and disconnected from your family. And that, I said to him, I think I say it in the interview, I was like, I think people are in relationships longer than they want to be because they're afraid of shame being weaponized and used against them. And he was like, 100%.
yeah.
Illnesses, diseases, um, things that may have happened, accidents, injuries, mistakes, maybe even a law break or something. There's a lot of things that are shared in relationship that you with your partner, and you've got that level of intimacy and trust, and then when that starts to dissolve, all of a sudden this becomes this kind of wall of fear and terror. And so, to your point about people can actively try and use your shame, and then we've got the shame ourselves. And if someone sort of strays near to it, even though you didn't maybe know what my shame was, let's just say when my marriage was failing, right, I could have been at a dinner table with you, we could have been at a networking event, and you could be talking about something, and I would literally have my nails in my palms, willing us to get away from that conversation or just not talk about it or just anything, because I'm so ashamed of my shame and it's just bubbling up and bubbling under, and I don't want you to see it or know it. So I'm just desperately trying to get it away from me and that conversation and push it aside. So we've got this sort of, like I say, this insidious sticky substance swirling around us. And then you have the times when people try and use it against you as well. And that is a whole other creature.
Well, people abandon their morals. It's like in a situation like that when, say, I don't know, you're going to use a video or whatever it is that happens. You're not thinking about the kids in that situation, are
No.
you? You're not thinking about anybody else. You just want to hurt the other person. I mean, that's I don't know what that is. That's bordering on evil. It really
It
is.
is. And also but again, it's probably shame, because that person, maybe they feeling the fear of financial shame. Maybe they're feeling the fear. Maybe someone said that they wanted to end the marriage and their ego is in a state. So rather than feel the feelings, rather than name the feelings or gain help, hurt people, and they're trying to do that instead and project and throw out that shame. Maybe it's a desperate, terrible attempt to control. Possibly there's been some lawyers going in there as well, sort of twisting and turning things for their own, winning of cases and stuff like that. But yeah, it's such a fascinating subject, and one that I'm really glad we're having conversations around, because I do believe there are a lot of people, like I say, in relationships that are afraid of things that have been shared in really good, intimate partnership faith coming out during the dissolution, whether it's divorce or breaking up or whatever, and people finding out about that.
And this is why, like you said, the conversations are so powerful, because these are real life situations. I think there's a lot of the time in industries like ours where people stay away from the really difficult conversations because they're not able to give an answer. But here's the thing: I don't think that's our job. I don't think our job is to come to a coaching session or to come to a talk or whatever with an answer. I think that's kind of arrogant. I actually like the idea of curiosity and exploration, and for everybody just to sit in the silliness and the sadness and all of those different things, feel those emotions, name them emotions, experience those emotions. I had it a little while ago where I had somebody talking a lot about mum guilt. And it was all,
Mm.
let's just use the example, couldn't make sports day because I was working. And I said, what if it wasn't guilt? And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, what if it was helplessness? What if it
Mm.
was a primary emotion of helplessness that's so unbearable because it has no solution, it has no action, it is just something you're forced to sit in. Therefore, why I don't want to do that because I'm a powerful person. I'm the CEO of this company. I'm going to call it guilt instead. I'm going to blame myself. I'm going to be horrible to myself because I feel like I'm doing something and I feel like I'm in control. And I'm like, how's
Mm.
that working out?
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
how's
How's
that
that
working?
game feeling?
Yeah, is that feeling good? Because helplessness is horrible, right? I'm
Yeah.
so grateful for you. And you're absolutely right. That is in my opinion, for what it's worth, the most impactful thing, that shame and guilt, the difference. Because yeah, shame comes with so much more damage than guilt in some sense. Guilt, there's resolution backward. You can apologize, all those different things. There's things you can do.
We
Shame
can
is,
learn from that. We
yeah,
can learn from that. You never, in my view, you never lose, you win or you learn. And guilt is a learning opportunity, right? That didn't make me feel good. That didn't make them feel good. How can I course correct for next time? Shame is something we have to deal with. Like we have to find a treatment for shame. We have to have that out of our system because otherwise that is literally, like I say, seeping into everything else. And like the great news is when you do have it out, and there are multiple ways to do it, but when you do, you are then a completely clear vessel, able to really gain all the benefits from everything else that you're doing.
love it. You're quite clever, aren't you? So this is you're like, wow, good to hit the ground running. I mean, yeah, but I mean, what's the most challenging and emotionally painful thing that you think you've experienced in your life, and what did you learn from it?
I mean, I would say it was having such a violent childhood, but it wasn't the pain of my father in various ways that he beat me and humiliated me, often in public. It was my mother that colluded. I realize now that was the most painful part. I mean, I am a mother. And if someone did anything to my daughter, when there's like frenemy stuff in the playground, for example, like, there's parts of me that never thought I'd want to, like that
I,
you get so angry
I
with a
get
9-year-old. You're like,
it.
how could you do that to my girl kind of
Yeah.
thing, like, and I know all parents will resonate. There is no part of me that can understand how my mother allowed me to sustain that level of terror, pain, and fear. I don't hold animosity towards either of them. I don't have a relationship with either of them. We're no contact. That's for my own daughter as well, because it's my job to keep her safe. So for me, I would say it was this feeling of complete isolation because my father is someone that causes me physical pain. He's unsafe. I'm walking on eggshells. I know this will resonate with you. You don't know, like one day, are they going to praise you, which is even more fucking weird, right? When they're really nice to you, you're like, what? Like, why are you being nice to me? Am I about to, like, what's about to come? And you're like, no, you are. This is really weird. And then you're trying to learn, like, well, I'll repeat that behavior. Oh no, that results in pain. Okay. Like, you're desperately trying to work out, aren't you, how to be a good girl or a good boy? Like, you don't know either way all the time. But the worst part for me was then having someone that saw all of it, chose not only to do nothing, but to really like seal in that shame and tell me that absolutely I was the one doing things wrong and it was me, and all of those things for a very long time. So that was the hardest thing for me to overcome. And also, one thing I'd say is great about social media, meeting people like you, being connected. But before that, there was a lot of, well, blood's thicker than water. You
Hmm.
only get one family.
Oh man.
There's wonderful. Right. So even more shame because it's
Yep.
like, well, it must be me that's a complete fuck up. I must be the only one. These people really caused me huge amounts of mental and physical harm for massive periods of my life. The thought of being anywhere near them makes me so anxious. This is in the past, like anxious, unhappy, all the rest of it. Every interaction is frankly not a nice one. But I should keep going with this thing, and then actually, I must say it was social media that was a very helpful resource for me to find other people that had been through similar experiences. And that was another thing I wanted to put in with the book. In all the experiences I've had, is that I remember a really big piece of healing for me was Mumsnet, the chat forum,
Yep.
because you could look on that and find loads of different scenarios. And I was looking on this around the time my marriage was failing. So I'm like, my daughter was 3. I'm like, how fucked up is she going to be? Am I, ever going to be happy again? Like, you're just trying to find anything to give you a bit of hope.
Yeah.
That's what this book is. It's to give people hope. So it's a book that I needed at my most hopeless, at my most anxious. I've created the book that I needed in those moments. But those forums were good because, you're just on there looking or lurking or whatever. I wasn't like contributing, but it really did help me feel like little tiny pieces of other people's stories and experience kind of added up to something that made sense to me. And so that also really helped me. And that's where social media was helpful as well. Because before that, like I say, there was this huge narrative that seemed to be singular, and I didn't see anyone else that was like me, where, oh, you're lucky to have parents that love you or whatever. You're lucky to have parents, and well, they did this, and you're like, yeah, pay the price. So yeah, that would to me was very, because it was so confusing for so long. It was such a confusing thing that people, it's literally gaslighting. It's okay. You're, like I said, it was almost worse when they're being nice, because that makes you feel even more uneasy. And you're like, what is going on here? Because yesterday, and then we don't talk about it, of course. We never talk about what happened. We never mention what happened. No one ever talks about what happens. You've literally got a black eye. You've got blood running down your face. We don't talk about what happened. We just, oh, isn't that nice? Like, didn't you mention you were doing that at school? You're like, this is really fucking mental. Okay.
You're so right.
This is really fucking insane, but okay. So that's another reason I think with my whole truth thing is the pain of never being able to speak about things, the pain of not having the truth ever being told what that means, which is disconnection in relationship, all of those things, being unable to ever be heard or have a conversation, which I think also is why I'm sort of such a truth teller and seeker now. So yeah, I would say that period of time of not feeling like I belonged anywhere, having a sense that I knew I was meant for something more, let's call it that. But like I say, you don't have the map at that time.
That right there is exactly what I resonate with. Is that contradicting feeling of knowing you're meant for more but not feeling good enough, being just utterly baffled by life, like not understand. You've got these two people that are supposed to teach you everything, and it's like, well, I'm seeing something, feeling something, and they're not making sense. And I remember a moment when my my wife said to me that she thinks it was important that we had some photographs with my dad and our sons. And I went back to Hertfordshire where he lived, and I at first we were just going to do it. I thought, yeah, you know what, he is their granddad, blah blah blah. But I'll get one photo, it'll be fine. And then after a little while, I started building up this. Well, maybe I should say this. Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should have a conversation. So I go in there, we get the photo done. It's as awkward as you can imagine. And I said to my wife, just take the kids out. I won't be a minute. And she's like, don't love this idea. And I just say, it's fine. I'll be all right. It'll be all right. Anyway, I said all I could say. I wanted to say. I was stuttering like you wouldn't believe, like I did when I was a kid. And he just looked at me and he said, "You sound like your mum." He said,
Oh,
stop causing trouble. And I just thought, right in that moment, I thought, okay. And it gave me so much, because this is what I realized. There was a problem between him and I, but it wasn't my problem. And it almost became hilarious. I just sort of, good luck with that, mate. And I just sort of left, and I've never thought about him since.
Isn't that amazing? I love that you had that experience, because there are sometimes we do get blessed with those moments. I remember a similar one from the very last time I saw my dad, and I was going to paint a wall. This is years ago in a flat, and he'd put paint on different parts of the wall where the light is. It was all the same color. And he was so critical of everything. Oh, you can't have this. You can't do that. You can't do this. You can't do that. And it was such a silly thing. But I remember him coming around being like, that one looks terrible, but that one looks great. And I was like, you absolute dumb. See you next Tuesday. And I just thought, you are such a dick.
Yeah.
Like,
it's amazing. That's a gift, isn't it? When you get to see it.
It really was. It really was. And I was like, I remember this so clearly. I haven't thought about this at all. It's amazing we talk about this. I remember thinking, oh my God, I don't like you. I remember thinking, I don't like you.
Absolutely. That's it.
I was just like...
And I don't have to.
I've been trying my whole life to get you to like me.
I wanted your approval. What?
Yeah. I don't like you. You're a dick. It was such a liberating moment. And I was just like, wow. So I mean, I hope other people who are resonating maybe get that moment. But if you don't, like, there it is available. But that was a concept that for some reason I hadn't had the time to think through before. I don't actually like you. And it
Yeah.
was so freeing.
But then again, I think it goes back to that meaning we apply at 8 years old, at 6 years old, that authority that I have to. I remember when I changed my surname. My surname isn't my original surname was a Nigerian name, was my father's name, and after a little while, when I started to think about having children, I thought, what name do I want to carry forward? I don't want to carry that one forward, so I changed it to my mum's name. The amount of people that had an opinion about that. They're like, oh,
Really?
you've only got one dad, all of that sort of
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
And I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, shut up. I'm not interested in what you got to say. Like, you have no idea what this guy tried to drown me. Like you've got to be kidding. He threw me down the stairs. He burned me. He did all sorts of stupid stuff. Like, and you just think, oh, just keep his name. He's fine. He didn't mean it. He just got carried
Let's keep the
away.
legacy alive, everyone.
Yeah,
Perfect.
what am I doing here? Like,
Yeah.
but so it's crazy. So yeah, it's mad. And I like the way you phrase that. Like, you don't have to. It's just realizing it. And this is what I mean about it being quite ridiculous. All of this self-development stuff is quite ridiculous, but and you have to laugh at it because it's silly. A lot of it's so silly. A lot of it you think, oh right, yeah. If my 8-year-old came up and told me this, like, oh okay, babe, yeah, no worries. But now I'm there running that play from when I was 8.
Yeah.
And as an adult, as a 40-year-old, 45-year-old, whatever, it's crazy. So yeah,
Yeah.
resonate with that again. Are we not like separated at birth or something? I don't
I
know.
think we are. I think you and I need. I
It's
think
a
you and I
bit
need to do a
weird.
talk. I think we need to put on like a theatre production together or something, and we can reenact. We can do shame in like.
It
We'll
could
do
get
sort of
weird, couldn't it? It could get
I
weird.
think it'd be
Yeah,
hilarious.
yeah,
We'll
it
get.
could
We'll
be
get.
hilarious.
We'll
It
do
might just
both.
be you and me, but
I don't know. I think let's like the macabre. We'll call it the macabre with margaritas. We'll get everyone in. We'll all deal with our childhood trauma,
yeah,
and we can
yeah.
like
What
leave
could
it
go wrong?
leave lighter.
It'd be like the wildest thing as me and you sat outside, don't even smoke, but we got a cigarette going, wow, I didn't
Yeah.
expect that.
Yeah.
So the next question, back on track. Next question is what emotion do you tend to avoid or dislike having the most?
So given I am like the queen of optimism, I don't like what I call negativity, like victimhood. I actually this so I always get worried about catching it from people, like the people that are very, very, very negative.
I actually said that the
Are
other
you
day.
laughing because you get it too?
It's like I used to have this neighbor like that, and I used to come out in the morning and see him, and then like if you said hello the wrong way, you're there for 20 minutes listening to his
Yeah.
problems. And in the end, I just ended up going, oh, because yeah, bye. I once drove off so quickly, I left my bag on the side. It was bad.
Yeah.
That's
So
how much I didn't want to catch it.
yeah, exactly. And I really worry because like I am so happy and my life's so great. And I sort of, people that are in this kind of like perpetual victimhood and really negative and like it wouldn't matter, the sky's falling in and everything is terrible. And I'm like, I can literally like, it's like Dementors from Harry Potter. I can feel my energy just like going through the floor.
Yeah.
And then also I'm like, this is the thing. I do sort of worry that I could get it like a disease, and then what if I can't be cured and I can't be me again? So that and it's very rare that I have not going to call it like a pity party. It's rare that because life does happen and life is happening to me right now, and all sorts of stuff. But I'm quite, and I'm not. I don't gloss over stuff. So if I'm feeling something, I'll feel it, and I'm like, okay, what's going on with me now, and what do I need in this moment? Do I need to cancel some stuff? Do I need to have some self-care? Do I need to go and have like a massive laugh with my mates until I cry? What is it that I need to do right now? So I'm not, I won't like sort of bypass it. I'm not bypassing it, but it doesn't serve me at all. Like it really does affect me when people are very, very negative. And I'm going to nuance that by saying it's the people that kind of just perpetually seem to want to stay in that character. Like they almost have no interest in
They
improving the
fight you for it.
situation.
They fight you. Like, doesn't matter how many solutions that you come up with, they've got more problems. Yeah,
Exactly. And they've got no interest in improving it. And it's like, do you know what? If that's like kind of a character that you've made or, whatever, like, okay, fine. But for me, too much time in that is just so depleting. And I always find it a bit scary. So I'm like, right, okay. So negativity, I would say in that kind of perpetual victimhood is what I avoid.
I had it a little bit. I climbed Kilimanjaro for charity at the beginning of the year, and when I came back, like I now realise I was just knackered, but I overfought it into depression. I got there as a hop, skip, and a jump, Before you know it, there I was sat there watching serial killer documentaries, eating chocolate, not training in the gym, doing all the things that make me me. And then one day I just sat there and I was like, what are you doing?
What
It
happened?
was like, it was like one of those weird, I don't know if you read The Naked Gun. There's a moment when the main character's walking and then he's talking in his head and then he just says, where the hell am I? And that was what it was like. I just found myself in this place and it wasn't easy to pull myself back out of it. But when I have these difficult moments of bad things happen in life and you have to acknowledge that how you feel about it, name the emotion, but it's
Mm,
that rumination, it's that active keeping myself there. Like I am now working hard to stay in this place. There are lots of people around me asking me, do I want to come here, do I want to do that? And I think it's a bit like falling down a well, right? And it's like people say to you, hey, you need to go and do this and see friends, go to the gym, eat a bit healthier, stop watching serial killer documentaries and stuff like that. And that's not going to pull you out of the well, but what it might do is stop you from falling further down the well because at some
yeah,
point you have to climb back out again.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what it was for me. It was just like I'm just free falling here, like and I'm completely in control. I'm just going to put out my hands, stop myself, and start doing the long climb back out the well again. And
yeah.
lo and
And
behold,
it feels exhausting. And to your
yeah,
point, you probably had what's called restraint collapse, which I definitely had like 2 weeks ago, and I kind of knew it would be coming, which is, you've been doing a huge physical, emotional responsibility for a charity, vulnerable, away from your family, investment in training, all of those sorts of things for this point. And then when that's come and gone, we can have this thing called restraint collapse, which is literally where you just go, there. And you would have needed some deep rest,
yeah,
but you probably didn't bank on the emotional side of it that was coming with it and everything else. And you actually probably did almost need to like switch the dials off for a bit. And to your point, then it's almost like I have to reclaim Killy, which of course isn't that, but to kind of balance yourself back out again to another level, you probably hadn't realized quite how much you'd given and put into that. Like I had it when my daughter started at bigger school
mm,
a couple of years ago, and I was so nervous. I didn't realize that she would make friends. There was all these, new things like this bag and this thing and where you drop them and what happens. And, it's all new. And I was so worried for her that she would have a good experience that I remember I got her there the first day and that was all fine and picked her up the first day and I was like, how was it? And she loved it. And it was the second day I dropped her off. I remember it. And she looked so little with this big backpack, going into the gate. I just about got to my car. I cried for 3.5 hours straight. I'm not a big crier. It's just not really my release. I cried for 3.5 hours straight. I was ringing my boyfriend going, I hadn't been with him that long. He was like, I really like this side of you. And I'm just like, oh God,
so
she
get
just
used to
looks
it.
so small. She looked so small. And it was
Oh,
like, it was just because I hadn't realized how much like anxiety and everything I've been building up into
yeah.
this, her having this experience. And that was me done. I was shot. Restraint collapse.
No, that's exactly what happened, and that's the sort of conclusion I came to. It's like I'm a nightmare. I'm such a terrible growth mindset guy. I'm like, okay, what's next? What's next? It's like
Yeah.
I get this great opportunity, and I speak to my coach, and like, this is amazing. We should celebrate. I'm like, I ain't got time for that. I gotta go on and do the next thing, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, So yeah, that was what happened, but. It's just funny to me. All I can say to people listening is serial killer documentaries are not the answer. They're not the answer.
Never. And from a trauma therapist, please don't fill your head with stuff like that
I
because,
don't even know what happened. It's just there, just
yeah.
like quietly sort of entertained by it. It was weird. Anyway, might delete that bit. Last question, because I know you're a very busy person. So, it's a strange question, but it's one I'm beginning to ask more about, and that is, what does self-sabotage mean to you?
Ooh. So you'll get this because you understand it as well. So it's interesting because I understand it and I understand when it's coming. Actually, when the book was coming out, and give it a recent example of it. So when the book was coming out and like on the publishing journey, and I was in the States for the day it came out, I was signing it on Barnes and Noble on Fifth Avenue, and genuinely so many things on the publishing journey went wrong. And I mean, almost like comically. So, for example, I was in Austin for a massive talk, got books sent there, early release, got it all signed off, got all agreed to give it to my fellow speakers, big Instagram, all the shit you've got to do, right? Like, and I had a few opportunities to sell some, which was amazing. They get to the hotel, a really big like hotel, and someone there decided to hand them out to their friends. So like
Oh,
all the books went missing. Oh, you can't, you genuinely, this is like one of the things that happened. Like the
oh,
first round of printing, they were printed wonky on the spines. I'm like, what? Like, I mean, just all these things that you literally couldn't make it up. Like if one of them happened, you'd be like, that's really terrible. But like I had a big event with Soul Cycle. The books didn't turn up. Like it was just like, what is going on here? And like we just about had time to get someone to go to a different venue to get what, oh, I mean, my God, honestly. And it got to the point where it was like, you almost expect that something terrible's, like what's going to happen now. It kind of became funny because we were so used to it. Like people were losing their minds
it
and we're
actually
like,
has to at some point, doesn't it?
yeah, we're like, well, this has just been happening the whole time. But I want to give the example of like the self-sabotage. So because that really was happening, because I'm going all in on this thing, I really believe in it. I want people to have it. I'm happy to own. I also want the book to be seen as successful. I want to write more books. I'm really enjoying the process of being an author. I want to share my work. I believe I can do something to help people. It was so tempting at each and every one of those moments and more in between. I'm saying it so many times. I just want to go and curl up in a corner and go to sleep and wake up in 3 months and just stop. Like it took me everything I had to almost daily put myself back in the ring every day to be like, it's too tempting. That's the inner critic. That's the saboteur. That's my self-sabotage going, come on, babe. Oh, that's one too many now. Come on, let's just go to bed. Let's
Let's
just get
step
some
out.
cheese puffs. Let's get Johnny to give us some serial killer documentaries. We'll get some
Where'd you hear that?
recommendations. Like, yeah, let's just forget about this whole thing. Let someone else do it. Whatever it is, like almost, it's almost like, oh, whatever it will be, will be. You don't need to do that. Just leave it. Every day, I was putting myself back in the ring every single day. And so to the point where when I've kind of finished the latest round of like book promotional stuff, I've sown the seeds. I could not have done more. Like I really could not have done more. And I'm really proud of what I've achieved. But that was a daily battle with my self-sabotage going, oh, it's a bit too hard. Should we just not? Oh, it's a bit too tricky that. Should we just stay here instead? Like, you don't need to do that. Why don't you let someone else try and do it? And it was honestly every single day I was having to go, no, you've got to, you're this far in, you've got your break, you've got your finish line, you are going to show up every single day and you are going to do this the best of your ability. And at the end of this, you can know that you've made yourself proud. But that honestly was a really tough part of it. And so again, for me, I know that if my inner critic, as I'll call it, is the self-sabotage is getting hold of me, is like, why don't we just, like lie down and not do that? That is usually telling me one of two things. I'm either absolutely on the edge of a massive breakthrough and we're getting a bit scared about what this means because I'm leveling up. And so things are shifting and changing. And so it's like, listen, you're so close of coming out of your comfort zone. Because the inner critic's job, of course, is to keep us safe, which is keeping us in the known, in the comfort zone. So if I'm hearing it and it's going off, it means I'm about to break out, and or my foundations are weak. So if it's getting a hold of me more, it means that I'm not looking after my physical, my mental, my emotional sort of foundations as well as I could or need to be in these moments. Now, sometimes, as you said at the very beginning, you're on a plane, you're in time zones, you're eating weird hours, you are stressed. Like sometimes we kind of have to go, it is what it is. And we get a takeaway and we just get some steps in outside and that we'll just have to do today. But when it was like, right, okay, this has really got hold of me. I actually need to kind of flip the pyramid here and I need to put me in first and then get myself back on track as quickly as we can to go again.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that you talk about all that because there'll be people that think that you can get to a point where that just doesn't happen. But
Oh God, it
that's
happens
that's
every
that's not the
time.
game. That's not the game. That's not
No.
the game. One of the reframes I often do is I change the word self-sabotage to self-soothing because
Oh, love.
yeah, because I'll sit there and I'll go, because I came, like you say, with the negativity, I'm like, how helpful is that to me to think I have this
Mm,
saboteur luring in the background somewhere?
yeah.
So I'm just like, well, no, something is causing me to feel anxious, stressed. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. There's something going on here, and I know I need to push forward. So this self-sabotage is self-soothing. So and what I used to use was alcohol. I used to use alcohol as a way of self-soothing myself, as outsourcing my emotional regulation. But now
Mhm.
I've found different ways. And that's why when I've worked with people with alcohol, I say to them, like, the job isn't to stop drinking alcohol and to focus intently on stop drinking alcohol, it's to figure out what you want to do instead. Because if we just
Yeah.
focus on the alcohol, we're just going towards it, and then inevitably we end up drinking, or at least that was my experience. But I think of it more like a self soothing, which gives me options. Self sabotage is kind of like do it, don't do it. Self soothing a little bit
Yeah.
says, well, I could do this, or I could do that, or I could.
Yeah. Turn towards your own toolkit. Like, what
Yeah.
is it that you need in this moment? And I think that, this whole self-care thing has become a bit like everyone goes, and
Yes,
we just think about bubble
yeah.
baths. I think from like COVID, I think we still like, oh, I don't want a bath.
No. Or a
But
candle.
really,
Or
oh God, no more. Like, well, if anyone wants to send me candles, I love them. So like, yeah, I am here for a nice candle. But yeah, I think it's like, people have got. I offer this paradigm to people. We think we're selfish for putting my needs first. I'm a mum. I've got business. I've got other things to do. And but actually, it's so essential that, like I said, I had to flip that pyramid, because if I'm not operating at my full capacity, then what kind of version of me does she get? She gets like 20% mum. And so does the book or my clients or whatever, or even, my workout, I'm going to hurt myself more than likely. I'll get an injury, anything like that. Like, so, I need to turn it around, really firm up my foundations, physical, emotional, mental, spiritual for me, make sure that they're, where they can be. And then I'm so much best able to give to people that I do love and things that I do love. Otherwise, like me, if the battery was on 20% and I'm trying to do everything from there, like no one's getting like the best of me at all. And I get the scraps at the end of the day. So yeah, like self-care is not selfish. Being selfish is acting in your own self-interests to the detriment of other people. Like knowingly you're going to harm others in this action. And then self-care is when you're placing your needs to get them nurtured so that you're best able to care for people that you love. And I think when we look at it that way, you're like, right. So yeah, for me, if I feel like I'm tempted to self-sabotage, it's information that, like, what do I need to, I love your self-soothing, but what do I need to go into in the toolkit to look after me first?
oh, that's exactly it. My wife, she's got ADHD and she's going through the menopause, and it's savage and it's so difficult. And I'm trying to navigate this and work it out and trying to be a good husband, and because it just I won't want to go through it. It's horrendous. And she's got this thing now that her and a friend have got called the I Don't Care Club, right? And it's just changed the way we interact, because like this morning she was doing something, and her phone was on the side and it was on the camera. So for me, I'm like, your phone's on the camera. And she looked at me and I went, you don't care, do you? She's like, no. She goes, I don't care that my hair is greasy. I don't care that I've got yogurt on my top. I don't care. I don't care. And I'm
Oh,
just
I
like,
love.
and so that's just changed it, because it's made it all so much more painful, and it's given her this permission, and she'll just text her mate like daily. I said to her, she needs to start an Instagram, because
Oh yeah, definitely.
that
I was
would
going to say, I
go,
want to be part of the I Don't Care
yeah,
Club. I
like
love it.
that I don't care
It's
club.
very
It's just,
unapologetic, the I
yeah,
Don't
it's
Care
just
Club.
like she doesn't care, and it's just like it's brilliant. It's that playful way of giving your permission to not care that someone else is going to say, and you just like, I don't care. I don't care that my battery's on 20%. I don't care that my camera's on and I'm walking around with the light on all the time. I don't
Yeah,
care.
I used to talk about it in fuck bucks. Like, you've only got so many fucks you can possibly give a day. So like spend your fuck bucks wisely. I think your wife might like this.
That's
So like
brilliant.
say you've got 5 fuck bucks a day. Like you can only choose. I can only choose to give 5 fucks
Yeah.
about something. So
And they're
like
all gone,
honestly,
and it's
I'm not.
8 a.m.
Yeah, like literally, I'm not gonna spend my fuck bucks there. Like that is a terrible investment of my fuck bucks. So yeah, like I literally am not gonna spend my fuck bucks there. So the I Don't Care Club can have fuck bucks if they would like.
I like it. That could be their currency.
Exactly. Well,
I'll
let's
pass
start
that along.
Bitcoin. We'll start a coin. We'll call it fuck bucks. It's part of the I Don't Care Club. It's
Yeah.
gonna be amazing.
It might need some explanation, because that could mean many things. We'll work on the promo for that, shall we?
Listen, never let the facts get in the way of a good story. Like it's all good.
Oh, listen, I've taken up so much of your time today. I've had such a good time. I'm really
I've
grateful
loved
for
it.
this. It's been really lovely. But I always ask this question just before I let people go, and that is there anything that you would like to pass along that could help people with their self-development?
I would love for people to know that it is absolutely possible for them to have a life with no shame. You can live a shameless life. Like I had a life that was very shameful. I was completely full of shame, and it dictated every single thing that I did, including self-harming, self-loathing, everything. And that seeped into every area of my life, relationships and everything. And I'm about to turn 44, and I could not feel more free, just high vibrating, all the fun things, right? And I really want people to know that it's never too late. And you absolutely, whatever it was, you can have a life without shame.
Yep, I totally agree. And there's a good starting point for that, and that's this. This right here. This is a good starting point, I'd say. I just wanna take a moment with you to celebrate this. Well
Oh,
done.
thank you.
Well done.
Thank you.
Have you taken that
I
moment? I'm
appreciate
sure
that.
you have many times to, like, you are a published author. This is your book. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. I'm going to add that into I'm going away next week for a few days, and I'm
Yeah,
going to take all of this in and just like, hopefully, when I calm here, just allow it to really resonate and, yeah, take
I
some
like
stock.
hearing
But I
that.
appreciate that a great deal.
No, that's, you absolutely deserve it. It is, as Vex said, a masterpiece in self-liberation. But just as you come off now, just let people know where they can pick up the book, what the book's about. Obviously, we spoke a lot about it, and then where they can find you. And I'll just keep it
Sure. So
loud
the
here.
book,
Like,
I mean, we can make Jeff Bezos probably needs some more money. He just got married again, so you can get it off Amazon. So yeah, it's on Amazon. You can have it tomorrow. The audio, I know you were listening as well. So the audio is the hero concept the publishers have told me. So that's Spotify. It's on Audible. It is me reading it. The other voice, so the voice of my clients and their stories, is a really good friend of mine who's an actress who's in Line of Duty, and she wrote Diary Maya Sunday. Really good friend. So it's the two of us doing our thing, which is beautiful, and it's very very nice to listen to. And then it's also in Waterstones. It's in signed copies in Selfridges in London if anyone's around there. It's in WH Smith's as well. You can get it online in all those places too. Instagram's the best place to find me, which is at Annalie Howling. There's 315,000 other like-minded souls, and we've got a nice community. I mean, there's obviously the occasional dick, but not really. But people are really in the comments, usually helping each other out. And we talk a lot about betrayal, heartbreak, shame, kind of healing, obviously not in a fake guru way. And like I say, the people on there are generally there cheering for one another and being real as well. Like we talk about real stuff, and they're really in there to help each other. So I would encourage anyone, if they're feeling a bit lost and disconnected, to come there too.
and I would say that sounds like a wonderful idea. This has been just fantastic. So thank you very much for your time today. For all the listeners, I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you have, please share it. Please tell everyone about it, because I'd quite like the podcast to get in the charts. I mean, is that too honest? I don't know.
Yeah, we've got to own it. We've got to claim it.
Yeah.
Let's claim
Okay.
it.
Well, then share it. Then share it and tell everyone. Follow. Do all those things. I'd really appreciate it. But thank you so much for listening to the podcast today, and I will see you next week on another episode of the Johnny Lawrence Podcast.